Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Wace, and today I wanted to take a look at some of the tunes that I've been seeing in the community. I'm actually a part of a lot of different Facebook groups, and every other day you see somebody post either a dyno graph of their car or an update on what mods they're doing. And I thought it'd be nice to just kind of put together some of the things that I've seen and show you guys, if you haven't seen these or you're not in these groups, to kind of give you an idea of what the car is doing with what kind of parts and what kind of gas. Because I mean, there's some crazy numbers here. I mean, you guys have seen what my numbers were, and those, I mean, it's even what I did with my car is not representative of what a lot of different tuners are doing with their cars. And which is why I wanted to showcase this, because we got some that are really conservative, and we have some really crazy high numbers, as you saw in the thumbnail, and we'll get to that one. What I wanted to start with is this one right here. This is what most people will see if you're gonna pick up a Cobb OTS tune, and it's about what I saw with my Cobb OTS tune as well. Here, it's looking like it's right at maybe 340-ish torque and about 300 horsepower on the OTS, which that checks out. I want to say that's about what I was getting as well. For the price that you pay, that's a decent bump in horsepower. You know, if Subaru can be believed, and 271 to the crank is what you're getting, get extra 30 horsepower out of it. That's pretty good. You'll feel that. I know when I was in my 2021, I definitely felt it. And when I got the 22, I felt it less when I was just driving it by myself, and I experienced it more when I was racing somebody fast. That's actually when I saw it the most, going back to how smooth the car is. And this, we talked about that to death in another video. Anyway, let's check out the next one. Here we have just an ETS intake. That's all that's on this car, and it is running on 93. And you can see the jump with the intake alone. And again, you saw that in my video as well. Depending on the tuner and the location and how well that car is performing, you know, they went from 314, 329, which is about what you would get on the OTS with just no parts, to 354 and 378 just by adding the intake. I mean, it is incredible. The car really likes the intake. I have seen some figures where people have said that the intake has been more of an increase in power over the turbo back. I want to say it's probably the same, but I mean, it is incredible how much better the car performs with just an intake alone. So let's check out the next one. Here, I'll zoom this one in. That's a ton of stuff going on over here. Looks like we've got stock figures. So it looks like these are, the green line is stock figures. And then we've got, I guess, 93 and then maybe E30. Yeah, that's probably E30. So this is with the intake, top mount intercooler, and an exhaust. It didn't say if this was a turbo back or just a cat back. I'm gonna say probably turbo back, probably the J-pipe, because you're looking at almost like 416 torque, which is, that's pretty cool, and 388 horsepower. I can't wait till my car is over 400 torque, because the way that the car feels right now, how much torque it is at 374, I mean, it feels super fast. It feels incredibly responsive. Having over 400, I cannot even imagine that. And now remember, this is just with like a handful of mods and E30. That's, you know, for everybody who still isn't familiar with what the FA24 platform is doing, this is what I generally am seeing. Most people are buying the basic bolt-ons and intake, maybe the top mount intercooler and like the catback. Generally, some combination of these three, and even though this is over 400, most people are touching 400 torque, 350, 360 horsepower with just those mods. And some people are even doing it with just an intake. Again, really depending on how far your tuner is willing to push it, you can take these things to the moon. And you'll see here coming up in this next one. I gotta zoom this back out. Now here is another, so this is a great example. You know, this is running an intake, the J-pipe, the top mount, and you can see the power steps. So the very first one is just your stage 0. I believe this was actually Cobb's stage 0 simulated stock map. Then you've got all those parts plus the Cobb OTS, which is interesting that they actually ran that on 93. Then after that, it is a tuned 93, making 361 and 398, which is incredible. On 93, that's a lot of power. Actually, if I can get that with 93, I'd be happy with that. That's actually more a little bit more power than what I'm making on E50, which is or E40, that's a crazy number. Now, if you look down below, the last figure, that's E30, 392 and 408 with just an intake, a J-pipe, and an intercooler. That's it. And to be honest, I don't even believe that the intercooler is that necessary. This is something that I've been talking to a couple of tuners, and we're actually going to have tuner talk coming up probably later this week. And I want to talk about this thing, because the stock intercooler is so much bigger than what we had in the V8, and it flows better, and it's a different type of intercooler. I don't want to misspeak. I'm going to check on that before I say this. It is a much better intercooler, and most tuners are saying yes, getting another one does help improve airflow and temperatures, but that stock one is still good for up to 400 at least. It's very efficient. So I want to see, I want to try to see if I can find some dyno sheets that show before the intake or before the intercooler and then after adding the intercooler. But this is still incredible. 392 and 408 with just basic bolt-ons and E30, that's incredible. Now this is where things get a little extra. You probably have seen this, if you're a part of the community, you probably have seen this number somewhere. It is a crazy number. This is intake, top mount, turbo back, which is a J-pipe, and E50. Look at this crazy number, 400 and 473. That is really fast. Like, if you're a Subaru owner, any Subaru prior to this one, you can't even conceive of hitting a torque figure like that on stock internals, stock transmission. I mean, the transmission is still something that we're going to see if it actually lasts with this kind of torque. I mean, it's anybody's game at this point. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. But the fact that you can even make up to 400 horsepower in torque on stock internals, that is a crazy notion, because I know some people have pushed the VA WRX to 400 and maybe even the STI to 400 horsepower, but I'm very confident that any tuner you've talked to, that if they are tuning a VA WRX, they do not want to go over 350 or 360 torque at all. It's not a good idea, right? And here we're just shooting for the moon, and this guy pretty much just pushes his cars to the literal end that they can give. And he's not done there. And this is crazy. You think 473 is high? Check this next one out. Look at this. 423 horsepower and 532 pound-foot of torque. This is, again, with an intake, the intercooler, J-pipe, and 250 cc's of methanol injection. He actually posted on one of these Facebook groups, seeing if people can guess. He is on E50, but I mean, this is no Subaru owner right now is looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, that's totally safe. It's not. And even for this car, we have no idea. And his car is the one that we're going to be looking at. Like, everybody in the community is going to be looking at to see what happens, because if his car makes it through all the beating that he's given it, then the rest of us are probably going to be okay. But like, I really don't think that this is going to last very long. But it is still really cool to see what is the academic reach of this car. Maybe it may not be practical, but it's still cool to push it so far to see what breaks. And I do believe that they have an upgraded clutch on here, which I would hope so. That's a lot of torque. That is a lot of torque for a Subaru. I don't know what else they have upgraded. Obviously, the transmission is still stock, but that I would love to see. I would love to drive that. I would love to experience that. I haven't actually found any clips of him driving this car. I'm sure that they are out there. I haven't looked that hard, but I would imagine at 400 horsepower and 500 torque, that thing flies. So anyway, this is just a couple of pictures that I was able to get, and I want to try to get a couple more if I can find some, and if people in the community are actually willing to come onto the channel and talk more about their car, I think that would be really cool too. But this is, if you've been... Sorry about that. Camera took a poop there for a minute. I don't know what happened. Anyway, if you've been living under a rock this whole time and you don't know what a 2022 WRX is capable of, I hope that this gives you some idea. And if you're on the fence and you have an older WRX or an older STI and you're like, oh, well, you know, I kind of want to upgrade, but you're not sure what kind of power you can get, I hope that this helps you. I hope that this helps you make a decision. And maybe you hated the car when it first came out because of the way it looks. And guess what? You actually don't look at your car when you're driving it. And if you want something fast and you want to make it fast for cheap, this is the car to do it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe and like. There's tons more stuff coming out. I want to try to do more videos like this where we just kind of talk about the car. You know, I can't install parts every day. And another thing I do want to mention is this background is temporary. I absolutely hate that I sit in front of like concrete, and I've got some ideas on how to make it better. I've actually been thinking about putting up, I have a shelf that I want to put up, and then all of the parts that I've been able to collect, like car parts and just car stuff, and even like things related to just metal, because that's, you know, heavy metal, I love it. And just something interesting to put on the background, because when I'm going back and watching these videos, that really bothers me, and I'm sure it bothers you guys. Anyway, if you guys have any other suggestions on videos or anything that you want to see or anything you haven't heard me talk about, please post them in the comments and let me know, and I'll try to make a video about it. If you notice, I do actually respond to all the comments. I do read every comment, good or bad, for better or worse. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.